Is that it? Are we live? We're live. Okay, good morning, folks. It's day 2 of Comics Camp, our special vacation week Comics Camp. Making a ton of micro books and tiny little libraries. You ready to draw and craft together today? This is day 2. So yesterday we looked at taking little 3x5 index cards. Let me pull up my camera here a little bigger. There we go. We looked at taking these little 3x5 index cards, and we did a real quick demo of how if you fold one card, you end up with 4 pages to draw on. If you put something like 3 cards together and fold them, you get a nice little 12-page space to draw a tiny little handheld story. And if you get fancy and you put a colored card around the outside for a cover, you get this really nice, what is this, 12 plus 4? This is now a 16-page book that has a nice color cover. And I like to staple them ahead of time. So we pulled in a stapler. I think 2 staples are needed on that spine. I didn't mention this yesterday, folks, but when I staple my books, I actually open them up cover side up, because then the sharp teeth of the staple are inside the book. Right? And they're not going to catch on anything. They're not going to scratch anything there. So that's the safe way, safety stapling. So then we have this beautiful 16-page book that we can fill up with ideas. And you can draw whatever kind of stories you want, any kinds of characters. You could fill it up with just writing if you want. I'm a cartoonist, so I like to fill it up with words and pictures. And I'll show you a couple of my books later on today. I'll show you the other stuff I do when I'm not drawing these tiny little books. Maybe you like to work in pencil and sketch your ideas out, right? Pencil them out. And then when they're ready, you can always come in with black ink and finalize them. Maybe you like to work with colors and you pull out the markers or the crayons and you ink on there. Just make sure your ink isn't bleeding through the index cards. But these are nice, thick index cards. They make wonderful little books. I'm going to tuck this blank one in my pocket, as I usually do. And like I said yesterday, I'll carry it around. And whenever I get an idea today, I'm ready to stop and draw and record it in my book. And yesterday, we looked at doing a basic chapter book, right? We looked at drawing a little mouse character. I just did my little stick figure mouse character. You could draw whatever characters you want. I added a little introduction with some of the materials the mouse character uses, and I kind of was thinking of making books. So we drew chapter 1 with the mouse, drawing something in a little book, coincidentally. And remember, we weren't too concerned about getting the exact wording down. In fact, if you look really closely, you have to look really closely to be able to read these chapters. But I bet if you hand this to any young reader, they'd be able to sort of tell a basic story. It's like a storytelling aid, a creativity Kickstarter, right? So the mouse had too many books, drew a little face on a box, and the box ate all the books or stored all the books, and then kept looking for more books. So we ended with chapter 6, but we said to be continued here. So there's our little box. So today I want to look at actually making some of those boxes, right? And we can be all the time, anytime. I'm doing at least a book a day all week long, just to keep my imagination going as I'm doing other things. I'm always thinking about the next book to draw. And these are really fun to draw with people. So it's really fun to draw with you as we make those. Something a little different today. I'll show you what one of these little libraries looks like. So here's I'll show you how to make one of these today. And it can be a building. It can be really any design. The design our mouse drew in that Beyond Books book yesterday was actually more of a monster design, right? That opens up and you can store. You can keep your little books in here. And I picked this size box because it fits these little books perfectly. They're the same height and width. And you can stack a whole bunch of books inside this little book-eating monster, and you can write a name or a title on there. And that becomes your little portable collection of micro books that you can share with friends, you can pass around and contribute to. And it's really cool. Well, let's see what's inside this library. It's really cool to get other people's books into your library as a collection. And they're really one-of-a-kind books, aren't they? So let's see. When you open this one up, Oh, you see the full title of the library, the tiny little bite-sized library. When you open it up all the way, oh, there are a couple books in here. So let's check these out. Ah, yes. All right. I'll put the library off to the side here. So this is one of the first little micro books I made as we were getting ready for camp here. And I thought, I want to do a nonfiction book. I want to do something that I know a little about, but I want to learn about it too as I draw. So I just, working off the top of my head, I wrote down, how to eat a cookie. That seems really important around the holidays, that people know that. I made up a pseudonym. So that's not actually my name, but it's a made-up author. And sometimes it's kind of like a mask you can wear. Make up pseudonym and pretend it's not a book you're writing, but it's a book a character's writing. And I think you'll find the story comes out differently then when a fictional character makes up the story. It's really fun to try that. So I started with a diagram of a typical cookie, right? Now, if you look really closely, I wasn't too concerned about getting the writing exactly right. In fact, it's just little dots and scribbles, but when you zoom out and read it, I hope that you can read this book as like all about cookies and you can basically figure out what's in the book, right? We're doing these little mini books in like a single sitting, one sitting and you're done with the book. Oh, I see we have some Munches to Chew fans out there. Wonderful. Thank you. Barney Smith is a big fan. That's great. I'm curious if you read some of the other books too. We'll have to chat about that afterwards. I think you'll find if you make up a fictional author too, with these pseudonyms, they develop a list of books they've written that you might not have seen, and you have to go out and find them and draw them then. So that's really fun. Anyhow, section 1 became a little, as you can see, it's like a close-up look at what these cookies, what this particular cookie might look like up close. Section 2 was the basics. I think doesn't that look like the basics of eating a cookie? Oh, yes, yeah. See, you get it in your mouth and you raise and the teeth go up and down and the cookie becomes crumbs. Sure. 3 is kind of the process. And this was really fun to draw because I didn't have to exactly work out words. I just had to figure out, what do I want to show? And what's kind of a story you can hint at that the reader will. Fun part of this book, as I worked on it, alongside we were doing all these after dinner one night, drawing all these mini books. The most fun part was there's a chapter in here somewhere. Oh yes, here, chapter 11. Common mistakes while eating a cookie. And then that turned into, that ran on a couple pages of all the mistakes. And at the back, there is a list of the other books by Munches to Chew, which you'll definitely want to check out. And I'm posting these books over at the Patreon, so you can check them out over there and read through them at your leisure. Here's another one. I think this is a collaboration between a few of us. So this is called Dwarves of Adventures. So where How to Eat a Cookie is a nonfiction book. Here's one that hasn't been inked yet, but this is a fantasy adventure book. So clearly one artist drew the cover. And then it got passed to me and I drew a little dwarf leaving a house. La-di-da, time for adventure, and it's penciled so I can clean up the pencil lines. And then when we finally ink it, it'll look a little cleaner. Then I passed it back to the original artist and they drew this landscape of the adventure dwarf traveling. And it came back to me, so I drew a cliff with a ladder and smoke. Now, I didn't know what that smoke was from, right? But that's part of the fun of passing these books back and forth as you make your little tiny books out of just folded up index cards, right? Just taking a single or 2 or 3 index cards and a colored card, folding them up, stapling them, and it becomes a little receptacle for, in this case, a team of ideas. So I didn't know where that smoke was leading the eye, but I knew that probably the dwarf would climb down. Passed it back to the original artist. Oh, and they have, a different artist has the ladder coming down, another dwarf looking up, but that one's slightly different from this one. And then pointed nose, not round nose. And then a couple other strange shaped dwarves roasting marshmallows over a fire. So that's what the smoke is from. Then it went to another artist and they had the dwarf climbing down. So this is a case where this is a wordless adventure book, right? And then we all can work together page by page to kind of develop an adventure. And what we're developing is a whole world, actually. So it's really fun to pass these little books back and forth. We can pair them together, put them back into our little bite-sized library box. And maybe I should tuck a blank one in there, right? I'll tuck that blank one that we just made in there, and whoever gets this box next can read those books and then add their own story into that blank book. And it becomes this growing collection. You can pack a lot of books into these boxes. So today, I want to look at how to make one of these boxes. And this for me is, this is as fun, if not more fun, than making the books, because you're actually creating this object that can sit on a shelf, that can actually be read, because there's often little surprises, like a little hole in the wall with eyes looking out, that has a sense of revelation, of revealing something, because you open that lid and you reveal parts that you couldn't see before, and then you reveal the inside, and you can even draw things on the inside too. So let's get our creative juices flowing around, like taking a box, a simple household packaging box, and turning it into an object to hold these books. So this could be our model. But then you can take this in any direction. I'll show you the basic materials today. And maybe we'll just kind of slowly, this might be a little longer session than yesterday, but we'll just kind of slowly work through turning, say, a simple, repurposed, recycled box of tea bags. Now, I took all the tea bags out. Just make sure all the tea bags are out of there, right? And make sure you save the tea bags and definitely use them. You can sip warm tea as you make your box. All right, so we're going to need a simple household box. I have some masking tape here. This is the, 2-inch wide, 1.4 inches wide. But actually, they make thicker masking tape than this. That might work better for your box. You will want to have some scissors. So if you are watching this live, you can comment and ask questions on the Facebook. If you're watching this afterwards, you can pause it and go get your materials and then come back and follow along here. Oh, I see we have some cookie eating experts here. Julianne is already an expert in eating cookies. Well, I hope when you read the books of Munchies to Chew, especially the cookie eating series, and there is a series, I hope you'll find some surprises, because there's always these new surprises that we can learn. Oh, so Maya has a master's degree in eating cookies. Wonderful. We should chat sometime. I would love to hear about your program, where you studied, and what you did for your capstone. All right. So I have my box, I have my masking tape, and I have my scissors. And that's really all you need to start. I do recommend, though, where is it? I do recommend switching to permanent markers. Sharpies work fine, Marks a Lot, whatever you have. And it's really cool if you have a couple colors. I have a couple little selection of different sizes and colors here, but you can get by with just a black marker for now, or just a single color. So this one, obviously, as I did my library, I used a bunch of colors. Brown for the roof tiles. I actually did purple and green and purple for the outlining details, a little orange. And then back here, they didn't paint the library, so it's kind of a weathered silvery gray clapboard back there. But this is a little small town library, sort of like what you might find in a small town here in New England. But you might have different plans for your libraries. Oh, by the way, just to get some ideas, I'll show you a couple other libraries here. So here's my castle library. And this is a very different one from that small town, little house, little cottage library. Right? This has battlements and lit up windows and some kind of I think these are library bushes here. And oh, there is a ladder going up to the back window. Something exciting is going on there. Someone's sneaking in to read books. And when you open this one, you reveal balcony windows with a little creature inside. And then it opens up. And my favorite part is the top, the sky, atop the battlements there. And when you open it up, you're actually looking up into a starry sky also. So that's a fun one to make. And then, of course, as we saw before, we have the monster library, which actually eats your books to hold them there. You can stuff it full of lots of books. And that's really fun to draw the little teeth. This one hides the teeth when it closes. Oh, today it's not closing up. It must be hungry. We'll have to make some more books. And one other monster version is this the skull flower design, which is kind of based on some Dia de los Muertos skulls that I was looking at. And this one, the teeth are on the outside. So when you open it up, you reveal the tongue and an earthworm and some eyes. And then you fill it up with books. And there's a growing heart inside. So there's lots of vines and things growing on this one. Oh, and yeah, and there, when the skull turns around, you see its little body back there, the little skeleton body that's dancing around behind it. So this is a fun one to put on your shelf. And it's kind of mysterious looking. People want to pick it up and say, what's in there? And suddenly they're reading your books. All right, so we'll do a building. We'll do a building version today. And then I'm posting details and how-tos for all these over on my Patreon. So we'll post a link to that. All right, so first thing I notice about this, I have to decide if I want to keep that little bubble there. And I see in my other, this is made from the same kind of box, I cut that off. So you might want to take a moment with your scissors to trim up your box, any little flaps or folds that you don't want. I'm going to keep all these flaps on the inside because they can become teeth and building parts and all sorts of fun stuff. So let's see. Actually, maybe I will keep that. And maybe I'll make like a stained glass window or something on that part of the library. We'll see. I'll leave that on for now. We'll see how that works. That might be tricky to tape around. So here's the basic idea with tape. Let's see. What I want to do is I'm going to cover. You can see I've covered every face of this box with 1 or 2 layers of tape. And I've wrapped very carefully. And I'm kind of systematic about that. I don't want to just, jumble tape on there and have it be all crinkly. I want it to lay flat. So let's be systematic about it. And the other thing is if I bring the tape right to the edge as I'm taping up the box, then that edge can actually become a flap. So what I usually do is bring it past the edge and then wrap it around. And here's what that'll look like. So I'm going to start by opening up this box, and we'll put the rough parts of the tape on the inside. So let's go along the side of a face. So what I'm going to do first, I want to start by laying tape across this face. I'll put a layer there, a layer, a layer, and a layer. It looks like it'll take 4 strips of tape there. All right. I'm watching comments as we do this. Yes, Julianne, you can definitely make, I have like 5 or 6 blank books of varying sizes and lengths over here on my desk that I'm keeping ready to go, because you never know when an idea is going to strike you. Sometimes you're out walking and a bird flies by and says something and boom, you're off on a story. And sometimes you want to let that story kind of rest and sit in your brain and sleep on it, right? Consultar la almohada. But consult the pillow, right? Let that idea mature. And sometimes you want to grab it and write it down. All right, so see what I did here? I started the tape in here, whoops, on the inside flap, right? And then I brought it around, and I'm bringing it up this front face. Now I can close that lid. We are attached, and that is strong. See, if that tape won't pull off because it wraps around the corner. So that's what I'm going for. I want it to kind of grab that corner and hold on. Not that we're going to pull hard on it. You don't want to pull hard because that deforms the box. Now I'm watching that edge there. See that edge? If I bring the tape right to that corner, it's going to lay right along that edge. There we go. And I keep it as flat and straight as I can. I see Carla has 2 tea boxes here ready to go. Make some libraries this week. Warning, Carla, I found I get making these boxes, and I have made clearly, lots of boxes. This is just a couple of the ones I've made. Here, I'll show them in the show them life size here. So here's 1, 2, 3. There are no more tea boxes holding tea bags in my cabinets, and there's a stack behind me. They're really kind of addictive, this creative crafting. Let's see here. So be careful. You get out and take walks occasionally. Let's see. So I'm coming around the back of the box. Again, I'm watching the edge of this face. Oh, little wrinkle there, but that's okay. I bet we can smooth it out. Doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. Don't expect perfection. Maybe strive for close to it, get close to it, but don't expect it, because then it won't be perfect. That's okay. Now see this, my box has these little flaps that help hold the inside clips on them, and it helps hold the lid closed. So I don't want to interfere with those. So here's what I'm going to do. Your box may or may not have these. You can do this with any size box, by the way, whatever fits the books you're making. Just press it right along that face there. And if you can see, I'm actually going to, there we go. I'm actually going to clip it off right when it reaches that tab. Here, this might not be visible, but I'll show you in a moment. Snip. There we go. So I clipped it off right where it reaches that tab. We'll smooth it off. Don't worry if there's a little bit visible there. People are going to be looking at like the eyes and windows and mouths and things you draw on this box. They're not going to be necessarily looking into the tiny little details. All right, there's our first strip, and you can see through it a little. So we're also going to go back across here and around the lid, and that should blank out what's there. And even if you can see through 2 layers of tape, if you have thin tape, then the ink will also hide what's there. I'm going to overlap these layers slightly. I'll put another one around the inside of the lid, up the front face, across the top. If you're, let me know if I'm going too fast. I kind of want to balance taking our time with this, but also actually getting to decorate the box within an hour of working together. Not to rush it, but just to get to all phases. If we, but you know, if we just tape it this morning, I'm planning to pop back in sometime this afternoon and maybe finish the, do all the inking on this. So you can always check it out whenever you have a free moment, see what we're doing here. There's our second row, and you can see where they overlap, it obscures the packaging a little bit. So that's going to be good. By the time we put another layer over here, that should be totally obscure. Let's see. Oh, I have to decide. Do I keep that round part? I think I'm going to clip off that little round tab there. Just because, how can I get in there with my scissors? There we go. Just because it simplifies things a little bit for the tape. There we go. Now you may have a box that's a little bigger than this, that's a different size shape than this. Oh, I have another one here. Let me grab it. This one did not have a lid like this. It only had a flap, but it looked to me like that flap was a mouth. So I drew, suddenly it turned into sort of a chubby, very foreshortened, sort of Moby Dick style green whale. Not a white whale, a green whale. And this one eats the books from below. So there's a little spout on top there. And then it sits on your desk or on your shelf and it just looks like that. But when you pick it up and open it, you see it is actually a whale with a mouthful of books. So that's a different size box, different style box. You can do this with any kind of box. If it's a larger box, you're going to need more time to tape it. Let's get our third row on here. Again, I'll tuck it inside the lid, bring it around the corner here. Oh, I see we have some kindred spirits aside from just cookie eating. Let's see. Helen has a cocoa box. Oh, I'll be interested to see pictures of all these boxes as you make them. Please do post them on the Kimball Jenkins site, Facebook page, or on your own Facebook page and tag me on it. Susan says, I was thinking I would like to send my grandnephew some mini books. Oh my goodness, yes. If I received a little library of mini books from my great aunt when I was a grandnephew, that would be such a wonderful surprise. And I would hope that maybe you can swap books back and forth and build a library. Building a library alone can be lonely work. Building a library together is just a wonderful way, whether you can sit at the table together or whether you can, maybe you can video chat together as you work on your books and then surprise each other with them. There's all different ways. I was thinking later today, I'm going to do this next layer right in front of you here. I'm going to do this next layer backwards from this side, and we'll go back along the edge and then tuck it into the lid. And then we'll have all 4 of these faces done. I was thinking later today, also another thing I'd like to post, or sometime this week, I'll post a little list of activities, sort of ways that we've collaborated around here to make these books. You know, like I said before, you draw one page, and you pass it to somebody and they draw the next page. There's a couple different formats that are really fun to do with people, with especially mixed ages, like grandparents and grandchildren, or parents and kids, family groups, siblings, uncles, nieces and nephews. That's what we're doing around here. All right, so press that all flat. So I'm going to post that extra stuff over on my Patreon, and we'll post a link with this once we're done here. And you can go sign up there to get all the invites and stuff. So it's really nice to have, thanks to my patrons, by the way. Thanks to Kimball Jenkins and my patrons for making these classes possible. It's really nice to be able to draw with you. Now you notice that's one layer, but it's pretty see-through. So what we're going to do is bring a layer across here and around to reinforce it, and that's going to make it less see-through. Let's do the lid first. We'll have to do the lid separately so we can still open the box. So here's what that's going to look like. You may find a better way to do this, but here's my technique. I go right up to the back of the lid. Oh, and this tape just covers. That's fortunate. And then I can tuck that corner around behind. It's a little bit kludgy, but there we go. I'll bring this around the front of the lid. Whoops, I got to really match up those edges because I don't want to have the edges hanging over. I'll bring this right back. Can you see that? I'm bringing it, there's the lid. I'm going to bring it back to the back of the lid, keeping my eye on the edge all along. Let me trim that off and I'll show you what it looks like. Whoop. There we go. See that? So it's still flapped, and I can tuck that flap, and tucking that flap around the edge helps it hold. Let's check that edge. Make sure it still closes. Yeah, it still closes and holds itself closed. I think we'll probably put another layer around there, but let's get the whole box covered. You can do this in whatever order makes sense for you. Let's go from the bottom up. Just making an executive decision here. Now, when I have I'm going to go around this time. So we'll go this way. And I like to put the seams on the back of the box. So I'm going to put it on the bottom and tuck that seam around on the back. Bring the smooth part around front. Now, if you're pulling on the tape and distorting your box, then it's going to distort the shape of the box ultimately. So make sure your box lies flat and gently, gently pull on the tape and support the box so it's not deforming the box. And then gently smooth that tape on there. That's looking a little better. It's starting to obscure the artwork on the box. Gently bring it around. The best before date. This box might be around for a few years if we really decorate it and give it to somebody. And we've come back around to the back. So I will clip it there. That's one circuit around the box. Looks like it's going to take us maybe 3, and I can overlap them some. A little overlapping isn't bad. It reinforces the box, and it helps hide the artwork, and it gives us a nice, kind of builds up a layer and strengthens the walls there. So Maya, I bet you're not the only kid. There's a few of us kids out there watching, and people are joining too on. It's nice to be able to do this live on the Facebook. We're also doing this live on my YouTube. If you look up my social media stuff, you can see the various other places this is appearing, and then we'll archive the video on the YouTube. And then I'm using my Patreon for all the follow-up resource posts, and I'm posting a bunch of pictures of all the different designs. Because as I made these books, all of these, I either made videos or I took pictures at each stage of making them. So so you can check out and see how they're made. I'll post that over on the Patreon. That's the extras section. It was so cool as we were kind of nice to just tape and chat with people and watch those comments. Oh, good. I'm glad. So Maya says, boom, mine's looking pretty good. All right, awesome. It looks blank at first. It's like a mummy box, right? We're wrapping up this box. It's like a mummy. Maybe somebody should make a mummy, that like a hungry mummy that can eat the books and hold them. I'm going to snip that there because I have a little divot in the edge of the box. So I'm snipping that so I can wrap it around, and that helps keep that edge taped. There we go. That's looking pretty good. You can still see through some of the tape, but I think we're going to come back around and redo it, because what you get here is you can actually still see some of the yellow along that edge. I think what I'm going to do is take a layer and bring it around this way to reinforce the sides and smooth it off a little. Oh, and to get these tabs here too. So let's do that. Couple layers doesn't hurt. That's why I figured we're already at 30 minutes. We've been doing it at this a half hour, but I figured today we'd just kind of take it slow and do this for a little longer together. We can all be taping together. And while you tape, you can be thinking, oh, just a sec. I'm going to follow the edge of the face. I'm going to bring it up and over the edge of that tab, because when it goes around the corner, it's going to hold better. Because then if it pulls this way, it's actually grasping the corner and taped on there. Much better, much stronger taping. As we're doing these boxes, you can be thinking about what kind of design you want to do. I was thinking I'd do a building today, but you may want to try your hand at a monster box that eats your books, or maybe a vehicle box. I haven't done any vehicles, but I kind of have this sense that it'd be really cool to have a school bus or a bus or a spaceship box. I wonder if you could do a pirate ship. What would that look like? Or, you know, another option is each panel of the box could be a different place. You could, or a different character or something. It could be like a stained glass window with different panels on all sides. Maybe just designs, flowers, stars, volcanoes, who knows? Oh, that's looking good. So that's one layer that goes around this way, across the existing layers that we're all going this way. So that's going to strengthen the box. This box is going to sit on a shelf and be handled by lots of mini book readers. It's going to need to be a little stronger. So that protects the box. There we go. I'm doing my second layer across, athwart the existing layers. I might, where that sticks out, I might just come in and snip that just to make sure it fits inside the box there on the flap. All right, let's press that face down. What are people thinking they're going to make for their design on the outside of the box? If you're live on Facebook, you can put it in the comments and let's see what people are thinking of. You might give someone else some ideas too. I got to open this up. Sorry if that's a little jumbled looking on the camera. The camera's really close to my desk today. Normally it's a little further away, but I wanted to see the details here. All right. Let's come around, snip it off. We'll tuck that into the lip there, over the lid, I mean, over the flap. So many parts of this box. Give it a little snip. Okay, so now we have layers going across, we have layers going around. On this side, we have layers going across and then outer layers going around. I'm feeling all the edges, making sure there aren't any sticky edges here. I think I need one more layer on the top. Doesn't that top look a little more see-through than the sides? These sides all have two layers, that's why. I'm feeling for sticky edges. It's looking good. I might have a little sticky edge on the bottom. I think that's okay. It's just the top that needs one more layer. We're almost there, folks. Then we can start drawing the designs on there. Yep, that's a single layer. So let's try this. Again, because this lid is angled, you have to approach it carefully. I'm going to start from the back. And I'll put some tape on there. Let's see if we can wrap this on the inside. Good. Good. We'll bring this tape around the top, across those existing layers. Watch out for little dog hairs and things that get into your tape here. If you get a dog hair under one layer, it's going to be there for all time. Maybe you want that in your library. That could be part of your mixed media here. All right. Snip that off. Wrap that around the edge so it'll hold. That's looking a little better. A little more opaque. 2 layers is the minimum, I think, with this particular brand of tape. The thinner the tape, the more layers. Let's wrap this again. Same technique, starting on the edge. Bring it around. I don't want any sticky side hanging over the edge, so I'm going to try to get it. Let me fold that up so you can see. I'm going to try to get it as close as I can right along the front face of that lid. Sometimes you have to go back and put a piece of tape along the edge, but I don't really want to do that because that can fall off if it gets old and brittle. Bring it down the side, clip it off, and wrap it. There we go. Little time to turn this box into something we can decorate. If I can still see the packaging through there, if that bothers you, you can always put a 3rd layer of tape on there. I don't think it'll hurt the box. It would strengthen it. It would definitely, you can't put too many layers on because the lid won't close, but this is still fine. I'm going to go with 2 layers for now because once I start drawing on that, you're not going to see that so much. Although, you know, I just said that, but I think I will put another layer around the front because that's only 1 layer, isn't it? So we'll do the same thing on the side of the lid and come around the front. Oh no, that front is 2 layers. It just stands out. It's very visible. And then I think I'll just be happy with however it looks then. It's kind of cool. I like that sort of crafty look where you can see the materials that went into it. Oh, it's masking tape on a tea box with permanent marker. How endearing. All right. There we go. There's my pseudo blank box. Let's see. We have some suggestions. Oh, no. So Maya says, my box is broken and ripped, and it's my only box. Yeah, and Susan says, I'm thinking you could use tape to fix your broken box. I hope so. If you got a rip along the edge, maybe you can, gently wrap tape. You might have to wrap some tape on the inside too to strengthen that edge. If it's a rip on the middle, maybe you could actually take another piece of cardboard or stiff paper, put it over it and tape around it and have that reinforce your rip. I haven't encountered too many rips because my boxes are fairly new. So I haven't come up with a way to fix that, but maybe we can check in after this and come up with ways to fix it. Yes, try taping it to fix it. Looks like it's working. Oh, good. Okay, folks. Looks like we're back on track here. All right. So I'm going to shift gears now and start decorating my box. And if you're still taping, go ahead and pause or join us later on the archived video for the decorations. We'll do a little bit of decoration here. We have another 15 or 20 minutes here where we can work. And then we'll see how far we get. And then we'll get back to work on our books, right? Okay. So for decorating, I'll pull out my basics. I have a couple permanent markers here. Sharpie is a thin point. This one has a chisel tip. I have a couple colors. These are really deep, dark colors. I also will pull out the red and maybe I got one of those sets. I splurged on one of those sets with a bunch of different colors. So, let's just start with a few and see how far we get here. I'll just give myself a couple. But if you only have one permanent marker, use whatever you have. And in fact, I'm going to suggest as you work on your book, on your box, you might want to start with pencil, right? And because once you put permanent marker on here, it can take a lot of layers of tape to cover it up. So let's at least rough out a basic game plan with pencil, right? And then we can come in and ink it. First thing that I like to know is in its closed position at rest, when I'm not forcing the box closed, but when it's at rest, where is the edge of the lid? Because then everything above that will be hidden until you open the lid. So I'm going to trace, gently trace roughly where that line is on these three sides of my box. If you don't have a lid like this, then you don't need to do this part. All right, so there's a basic line. So I know that's what you'll see when the box is closed. When it's opened, this will be revealed. And the same on that side too. So I can put a little surprise in there if I want to. This is going to be partly planned with pencil and partly just improvised, and we'll see what happens. So I was thinking, let's look at our model from before. And this one, I had it be symmetrical, and I really like the perspective that happens. It's just a rectangular box. But if you say, okay, here's the roof going down the lid, and the front of the lid is the front of the roof. Maybe I'll put some garret, some dormers in there and some windows on that. And then I'll trace those lines back. I'll show you how to do that on my new box here. But I really like how that looks when it's sitting on my desk. It almost looks like you can see it in space. It almost looks like it's shaped like a building, but it's wrapped around the box. It's really fun for your eye to try to figure out. So let's try that on this one. I was thinking I'd make it asymmetrical, so not the same thing on both sides. Maybe I'll put a peaked garret here going up. Oh, see, there's a little edge there where my tape is going to give me trouble. Oh boy. All right, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do the emergency fix on that. Hopefully this won't come back to haunt me. Oh no, I see. Yeah, I might have to do that on both sides. My tape's going to give me trouble there. So I'm going to take one piece of tape and lay it over that corner and just bring it down on both sides. The reason this is weak, this might be a little weak, but I'll try it out, is that one piece of tape is not anchored to anything. So it can fall off. I'm going to do this as a test. And I'll see if in the dry winter air that falls off. I'll just have to redraw everything under it. Let's just try that though. So there we go. There we go. That gives me an edge there that I can draw to. Okay. Otherwise, it was going to get sticky pieces of tape. The edge of the tape was right on the corner. All right. So maybe I'll draw like a peaked garret. I'll try to get them both at the same angle here. So I'll draw a little triangle there. You can get out your ruler and measure things if you want. I kind of like the hand-drawn look. So I'm going to go kind of loose with that. And that means this edge where this connects with the roof will go up and up. And maybe across the back, maybe we'll bring it all the way to the back. So there's the peak of that. This is going to be a window here. Maybe we'll put let's put like a round window in there. And we'll put like for some reason, I always think of this as a TIE fighter window, that sort of glass. It's like the front of a TIE fighter, right? And we'll bring the peak back all the way to the back of the roof. And then this part is the part that joins to the roof. So I'll just bring that back in a straight line back to the edge of the peak. See that? You can take whatever shapes you want. You can go out and look at roof lines around you. I'm going to do this because it kind of reminds me of, I don't know, I feel like I've seen a library sort of like this. Now there's going to be a big window under here. So careful, don't press too hard on your box. Maybe we'll do like 3 by 3 there. That'll be a nice, I'll color that bright yellow and it'll be kind of dark around it. Maybe this will be like a wintertime library. So there will be like a little line there. The roof will come across here. Maybe I'll put the library sign here. So it'll say, let's make sure the words fit. Library. Ooh, little bit of a scrunch there. So I'll remind myself to move the letters that way slightly when I ink it. Let's put the door. Oh my goodness, this is going to cause all the rain to come down here and pour down on the door. We probably need, well, you know what? Maybe it's never going to rain on this library. I don't want to put the door way over here. Well, I could put the door. Think. Let's try the door over here. I just know from experience, all the rain's going to pour right down into that corner. So we'll put a little window there to watch the rain pouring down. All right, there's our door. Let's put a little open sign on it, a little doorknob. It'll look something like that. I'm just planning out the basics. You know, I might do some little bushes in here. I can put leaves on them or not. You can put snow or something around the base. Maybe on this side we'll have the roof lines. I'll show you how to do the shingles on there. Those will come across, I think, and that'll be the roof going up. And then maybe we'll just put one window here. Remember with my library plan here, I did a nice front to the library with flowers and windows. And on the back, I did some surprises, a little hole with eyes peeking out. And then a surprise of opening up to see the rest of the sign. See what occurs to you as you draw. I've got a window on that side. I've got a door here. I'm going to want a door, maybe a back door over here. Fire escape door. Put a little window on it. Maybe another window here. I'm checking the comments. Yep. Samaya says, oh, so you fixed your box that ripped. It doesn't close anymore. Oh, maybe we're getting too much tape on there. You know, arts and crafts. I mean, really, it's creative problem solving. It's coming up with problems with your materials and finding ways around them. I wish we were all in the same room together and we could work on that problem solving together. But for now, do your best with it, and you can probably engineer a way for it to close. And if it really won't close, you can always wrap it with a ribbon or an elastic band. It just becomes part of the quirks of your personal library. Oh, look, Susan said maybe use a ribbon to keep it closed later. See, great minds think alike here, or crazy library building minds think alike. All right, and maybe I'll wait. I don't have an idea for the back, so I can always wait. Oh, you know what I'd like to do here? I think we'll have a big old garage door, and it'll say like book delivery. That won't fit. I won't be able to write that, but I'll do a 2-line sign. Book delivery. There we go. And it'll be like a little garage door that raises and falls. Okay, roughing it out with pencil. I'm not sure what'll go here, but we'll figure that out. I think I'm ready to start inking here. So I've got a basic library look. I don't know, does this one need a chimney? I don't know where the chimney will go. Maybe I'll just leave the chimney off on this one. Well, I could put a chimney in here. Maybe if it's going to be a winter scene library, I should put a chimney right up this side. It'll go up there, up. We'll keep it pretty simple. We'll just make it like, oh, you know what might be cool is coming out of the chimney could be puffs of smoke, and we'll do some smoke clouds, and they'll just drift off across the roof like that. Oh, that'll be kind of cool. Then when you look at the roof, you'll see these white smoke clouds puffing out of the chimney. And then can you see the chimney from the front? Yeah. Make the chimney go like that. We'll bring it around, kind of look at all different sides. And maybe we'll just do a brick design on that chimney. You know, it'll have little lines going across and little lines in there, but I've drawn a lot of bricks, so I like to just kind of improvise that. I'll show you how I improvise that as I ink it. But you can plan it out with the pencil if you feel you'd be more comfortable inking that way. Put a window on either side. And I haven't decided if these bushes will be green or if they'll be branches. Also, we need to think about what's going to reveal when we lift the lid of this library. I kind of like the idea of maybe it's a jagged edge, like you ripped the roof off. And maybe on the inside is like these big eyes of this. Maybe this will be a bright green, blue sort of monster, and it's reading a book. We'll do like a little book open there, and it can be maybe it's how to eat a cookie. Maybe that monster is reading there. And maybe there's another creature in here, maybe like a bird creature. And maybe on this side, I'll think of something for that side. I like to leave a little blank space to think of. So let's work on that roof and get some of this front done. And that can be our goal for today. Then I'll keep working on this as you're working on yours, and I'll post updates. Let me just take a quick picture of this. I'm going to sneak onto my camera here, click a picture there. I like to take pictures to document what this all looks like as we go. Okay, so let's zoom in here a little closer. And maybe I will start with, some people like to do the outlines in black because that's the highest contrast. I kind of like to do it in another color, a dark color. Maybe I'll choose blue, but anything purple works nicely because that makes it look shadowy. Maybe a red, if you have a dark enough red, if you want it to look kind of warm. A green can be good if you want it to look sort of leafy and like tree shaded. I'm going to go with blue because I'm thinking this might be a winter scene and I want it to be kind of chilly. So here's how it'll look. I'll just trace over those details. And it's not perfect, you know, one line's a little crooked, one line's a little wonky, that's fine. You know what I'm going to try here? I'm going to try something a little different. I've found on some of these, where did it happen? On some of these, like here's my castle one, and these windows look fine when I colored them with the yellow. But then if I drew the lines of the window and then colored with the yellow, see how the yellow gets kind of muddy there? Because it actually takes some of the brown and purple from the outlines and blends it into the yellow. So I'm going to try doing these windows yellow first. Whoop, see, it grabs a little of the blue and then we get green in the window. I'm going to do the windows yellow first and then ink the dark color around it. I can still see the pencil lines in there. This is the more of these you do, the more problems you solve, the more innovations you come up with. This is my latest innovation, my Tuesday morning cardboard box library innovation. But I like to always be coming up with new problems. It's a good thing when you're constantly coming up with new problems because it means you've solved the previous problems and you've pushed yourself to do something different, something more advanced. If you're just doing the same, maybe I sort of think like a craft is where you, not that you do the same thing all the time, but you do things according to a certain system. And then art is where you break those rules. So whenever you mix arts and crafts together, you're going to be using a certain system. Here's how you box, here's how you color it, here's how you ink it. And then if you're really treating it as an artist, you're going to break some of those rules carefully, figure out how to work around the new rules, solve new problems, come up with new innovations. Let's see how that looks. All right, so that means instead of getting blue and yellow all mixed, now the blue is going to pick up the yellow, but it doesn't, the blue's so dark, it doesn't change the yellow so much. So that means when I do this, oh, that looks nice. I'm glad I did that. Because if I were coloring yellow onto the blue lines, I would now have sort of a muddy green window right now. I'm going to do this with my future library windows. Let's see, I can still barely make out those pencil lines, but enough to roughly improvise. Now see, look, I slipped a little bit. One fix is I will darken that top line. It'll just look a little shadowy. There we go. And that evens it out a little more. Maybe now I need to darken this top line. Just working with the mistakes we make as we go through life. Fixing them where we can. Moving on where we can't. Let's see. Oh, this door did not have a window on it, huh? That's all right. It's a small library. I wonder if I can fit that open sign in or not. We'll see. Put a little step on there. Let's do the roof before we get to, let's do all the windows and then we'll do the roof. All right. Kind of balance like making a game plan and then just following your imagination and your attention wherever it takes you. And then being systematic. Finish the windows. All right, that one's going to be a 4 square. Okay, that's getting there. Now let's do the roof. So for this roof, I'm going to, I want to trace the edge of this lid because I want that to be well defined. Watch your fingers. You know, using permanent markers, I forgot to say this at the beginning, using permanent markers in the winter time when you probably don't have, if your climate is anything like mine, you do not have your windows open right now. It's pretty chilly. And I have the wood stove going. And if you find these permanent markers start really smelling up the air with their fumes, then definitely take frequent breaks. I never use permanent markers like this in the classroom because having 20 people all working together, it's just too much. I always use water-based markers in the classroom, but like this where we're dispersed, there we go. That gives some nice definition. Should be all right for a little while, and then we'll take a break soon in a few minutes. Let the air clear and come back and work on this more this afternoon. All right, I'm following those lines. I'm going to bring them back. Here's the peak of the garret coming back. Now remember those smoke clouds I added in. I'm going to go in with, maybe I'll try my silver gray and I'll outline those. And I'm not going to draw over the smoke clouds. I kind of like how things get layered like this, where I won't draw through them. And they'll become these sort of gray, white, puffy objects on top of the roof. That'll be kind of cute. Okay, so this line goes through, comes out that side. This line goes under the smoke cloud, comes out this side, connects with that line on the front. Okay, that sort of looks like a garret. We'll see. I don't know if this is going to work out or not, if this will look right to your eye or if it'll just look kind of funny to your eye. Who knows? It might look kind of funny. We'll see. Let's put the sign on there. Ooh. And we'll trace down that corner. That gives the sign some definition. So if you see it from 3/4 view, you're still going to see it as a sign. Haven't decided on a color for this sign yet, but I think I want the letters to be dark black. So if the color is going to be light, let's do like a dark green outline here. I have to think ahead because if the letters are dark, I'll want to lay down the light color first and then do the letters dark. If the letters are light, I want to draw the letters in and color around them. Let's try this. See, this green, I think, is fairly dark. I could go with yellow. Let's do the letters in yellow. So I'm going to lay down a yellow field and draw the letters over them. I'm going to do bubble letters. And the inside of the bubble will be yellow. I hope it doesn't look too much like the windows, but I can paint it a little different orange or something. There we go. It'll look kind of lit up. Let's see, it may be purple to contrast with that yellow. So I'm going to trace around that L. I'm going to move the I over slightly. Oh, I found the edge of the tape there. I'll move the B over slightly. I'm going to pack these letters. That's why I'm doing bubble letters. Simplest would be just to write in black on top of this yellow, but I want to try something a little fancy here. You can put your sign wherever you want. Notice, let's just check another one. I put the sign here. This is dark letters on a light green field. That works pretty well, and it kind of balances with the bushes. And then we reveal windows when we open that one. With our original model, what did I do? Well, I put the library sign down here, down below. And then when you lift the roof, you see the rest of the sign. So you can have it on your shelf, sitting like that, like a 3-story library. Or you can compress it down to 2 stories if that's how it fits. Depends on how many books they have in there, I guess. Oh, they should make libraries that way. Oh, this Y is going to be a real pack. Let's see. This was what I found out, right? I saw in my penciling. It's going to run out of space. Sort of readable. Almost readable. I got all the letters, though. Let me color around those. Well, maybe I should have gone just with the black letters on yellow, but I'll go with what I have. Library. And maybe, like I said, I need to make this a little different from the windows. So maybe I'll edge the left and bottom of each letter with a little orange. Left bottom faces, making them kind of stand out. That's fun. We should do a separate lettering tutorial to look at how those work. That's really fun to do. I don't know if I can fit it in here. Yeah, we can. Okay. That gives it a little bit of 3-dimensional feel to it. All right. Well, I can come back and revisit that sign. What did I say? We were going to do the roof. So we'll do the roof and then we'll be done because we're at an hour now. Oh, yeah, Carla. Carla says, stained glass sign. Ooh, I like that idea. Oh, you know, I've got a post. I have some, speaking of stained glass, I have a stained glass surprise. I'll post it over on the Patreon. Now, wait a minute. Let me think here. I'm doing the chimney. We'll rough out the chimney here. I said before we were done today, I'd show you some of my other stuff that I work on as a cartoonist. So I should show you that too. Let's just do these shingles. And then I'll keep working on this and I will post more later today. I'll post the link here on the Facebooks. Now remember, when this lid opens, this chimney might have to, maybe we'll just keep the chimney going. Maybe it'll become like, I'll keep it going straight. It'll go right up this side. And whatever brick pattern I do on that chimney, probably with red or pink, it'll just go right up the side. It'll come down to there. I haven't decided what I'm doing for the ground yet, but I will post some pics from that as I work on it. Maybe I'll post them live as I work on it later today. This week is all about drawing little books, right? And making little libraries. And then we can keep each other posted on how it's going. Oh, one more line here. So this will be the front of the chimney. There will be this funny little bit of roof between the side of the chimney. But, you know, that's what happens when you try to make an entire library wrapped onto the skin of a tiny little tea box. I like those funny little tricks that come up. So okay, the shingles, last step here. I'm going to pull out, I don't know, I usually go to brown for some reason, but red, orange, green, whatever crazy color you want. There's a bunch of different shingle patterns. I'm going to do a really basic shingle pattern here. Imagine I'm looking sort of down on this. I think, what did I do on this one? Because this one worked. I liked how this one came out. Okay, so I'm going to follow the shingles up the sides. We'll bring them right along, straight back. We'll bring shingles straight across the roof, and then we'll do shingle rows, and then we'll do little lines. I didn't take the time to line up those lines very much, but you can be really fastidious with your shingles. So let's try that. All right. You can make them as close or as spaced out as you want. Maybe I'll post a couple shingle patterns too as options. If I were being really careful, I would use like a letter guide, right? Measure them out. But I'm just eyeballing it. And if it looks about right to my eyes, it'll look about right, hopefully, to the reader's eye. Now, here's the trick, though. The shingles, at least on the roofs that I've roofed, they don't go back to the point here, like radially. They go straight back. And this will also give us a guide for the rest of the roof. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm just bringing them all totally parallel straight back. Feel free to use a pencil with a ruler. Make sure you get where your shingle lines are going, right? You can, here's what that looks like. I can come in with my pencil. I can even use a ruler if I want to make them go totally straight, guide them out. I kind of skip that step once I've drawn a bunch of shingles. I start just eyeballing it and going directly with ink. But maybe if this is your first library you've ever built, you might want to roof it with a pencil first. That's looking good. And those lines continuing, I think that's part of the trick. The line continues over the edge, around the edge. And that's what helps your eye see that. You start to see that as it's a perspective trick. Your eye starts to see it as a roof, a continuous dormer shape. Now here's the other trick. So these cross lines on the shingles are going to go with, they're going down the roof. So they're going to go with this edge of the roof. And as we bring them around, they go a little more flat here. So let's try that. So I've got this edge of the roof. Let me do this side first so I don't smudge my work. Am I smudging my work? Give your ink plenty of time to dry before you handle it. You'll end up with blue fingers if you're not careful. So I'm going to follow this edge of the roof. And what I'll do is I'll put one line there, I'll put maybe two lines there. And what they actually do on a shingled roof is they don't line up. So let's see. Line there, line there. They're like a brick shape. And is it perfect? No. Will it trick your eye? Maybe. Let's see. If you're doing like not a roof shape, but a monster shape, it'll look a lot different. You could do thatched roofs. You can do tiled roofs. There's all different patterns you can try here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Are my lines perfectly following the roof? Nah. If you got a magnifying glass out and measured the angles, you'd see they were a little crooked. But if it looks about right, especially when you look down on it, hopefully it'll look about right to your eye. Now, here's the trick on this back one. They're not going to follow this back of the roof. That's where the roof joins, where the dormer joins with the main roof. Boy, you didn't know this was going to be an architecture class, did you? So on these, they're going to go straight across. Straight across. And see how I'm carefully alternating them here so they don't line up. This next row down lines up with the second row up. That's why it's like bricks. Bricks will do that. One way of laying bricks. Yeah, so this is crafting, bookmaking, and architecture all wrapped up into one. Ooh, I like how that looks. And then once I do that same pattern across the roof, and I could have somebody standing on the roof. Maybe somebody should be laying reading on the roof. I'll come up. Feel free to post your suggestions. If you have a suggestion for somebody who could be up on that roof there. I'll check all the comments after. I haven't been following super closely, but it's great to get suggestions. What was the other thing I was asking for suggestions for? Oh, suggestions for like requests for what we should make a library box of. What would be an awesome library design? Maybe we'll mash together a couple suggestions from people. You know, if one person says dinosaurs and one person says spaceships and one person says castles, maybe we'll mash them together. Flying castles full of dinosaurs reading books. I guess that's my suggestion, huh? All right, so let's look at that from 3/4. That starts to look like a tied together roof shape wrapped around this box, but it's hard to tell until we do the rest of the roof, what it's gonna look like. One thing we can do too is we could lightly shade this side with pencil even, and that might make it look like the light's coming from one direction. The moonlight, in this case, I think it's gonna be a nice nighttime, wintertime library. Now, going from our previous rough, oh boy, this roof looks really rough now. Now that I've taken the time to line up the shingles, it looks really organized there. So this one has the roof shingles going across, and on top, they're also going across. So that's the easy part. And I think the combination of the lines going across and the lines wrapping, that really, that combined the same pattern coming in at different angles kind of helps you see the shapes of the roof, even though it's just a rectangular box. So let's see, that would look something like this. And again, you might want a pencil. Put a line right on the edge there. Let's just pencil this. So it's gonna come across sort of like that. Oh, and I said I was gonna put somebody laying there reading a book or doing something. Feel free to post suggestions. So maybe I will leave that blank for now. It'll be shingles back here. I'm going to just have this be a simple roof going all the way to the back. There's probably an architectural term I should have looked up. It's not a salt box. It's not an A-frame. It's like half of an A-frame. I'll do this side of the roof, and then we'll be done, and then I'll surprise you with whoever's sitting on the roof reading a book there. I don't know if your library allows you to climb out on the roof. Probably not in the winter time. You're probably not allowed to climb out on the roof. Oh, here's what I was saying. This is kind of a guide because look, where these shingles meet here, that's where our next line will come out. Where these shingles meet, that's where our next line will come out. More or less. Maybe I won't follow it if it's going to make my roof look funny, but that can be a guide. All right, so same thing here. I'm going to do alternated lines that don't line up, or they line up with the row just above it. But, you know, people aren't going to be able to see where those lines are behind that cloud of smoke, so I can just kind of eyeball it. But I'm trying to be really organized and orderly with these roof shingles because I want my roof to last and to look real. Okay, so there you go. Now, I think what's going to seal the deal is getting the side done. So let's bring that around. What did I do on this side in our model? Oh, I shifted it up. I'm going to try something a little different here. So here, I brought the shingles across, and then I just brought them across that way. I'm thinking on this one, since they're so orderly, I'm going to try bringing them down. And we'll see. That might be a, I don't want to say mistake, but we'll see how it looks. I think on my other one, you could see the dormers from the side, but on this one, not so much. That's another reason to make a bunch of libraries. Make them, give them to friends. I find it's really cool as you're making a library, if it makes you think of somebody that you know, maybe that library is for them. We've had a couple boxes where we're like, oh, this box reminds me of so-and-so. Well, maybe it's meant to go to them and they can be the first to add books into it. Or maybe they get it and there are already books in there and an invitational blank book. These libraries are always hungry, always open for contributions. You can draw whatever you want into your mini books. Takes a little time, but that's the great thing about it. Like, this is time we can spend together creating things, trying things out. I don't know if I really like how those shingles look. I think I like how they look going across. So I can decide if they're going to go across here or if they're going to go up and down. I'll figure that out as I go. I like the orderly look of it. I feel like it needs a couple dormers to really drive home the shape, but I think I may at some point come in here and shade this side so it's a little darker, just to make it look, that can be a little help in seeing the shape. But I'll figure that out. Got to figure out who goes on that roof there. Got to figure out what goes on these sides. I'll be working on that today, combining some colors. I think I'll make this crazy colored. I'll work in some greens and oranges. Yep, work in a stained glass window. Maybe I will add some colors in here and make this a stained glass window. That could be really cool. And the book delivery box, and something's going to go on here, but we'll see. And then once it's all ready, we can move a couple books over from our previous library, stuff them full, make sure there's a blank book or two in there, and then start sharing it around and filling it up with all these stories. So wonderful. Thanks for that. I see that's over an hour, so that's plenty of time for now. I'm going to clear the air of these permanent markers, get outside. I'll feed the wood stove, get outside for a walk with the dog. And when I come back, I'll have some new ideas of how to complete this library and how to draw some new books. I told you I'd flash some of my other projects up here. So I also draw a lot of mini comics, like this one I drew about the birds. Just last month, I drew this one about the birds at my bird feeder and my observations of them. And I'm drawing a series on these, my little feathered friends here. And I draw these mini comics on single sheets of paper. And I've got stuff on my site that shows how to make these. You fold up a single sheet of paper and it becomes a little 8-page story. And it just so happens, actually, that these, number one, they can fit inside these libraries perfectly. So they make great larger additions to your micro book library. The other cool thing about these is when you open it up, you can actually photocopy that, make 100 copies, fold them up and give them to your friends, right? So this is a great way to share them. If you have a story in mini book format, maybe Dwarves of Adventures is just a planning stage, and that gets us the story. And then we can make it as a mini book and actually photocopy it and hand it out to friends if we want to go that route. And the other thing I do, sometimes I make these larger minis, right, that you can read through. Actually, I'll show you this one. These are folded and stapled, and I draw these pages full size, of course. This series, this is the Freeman Colby series, so it's actually drawn from letters and diaries of Civil War participants in the Civil War. And I put some of my source images in there. These are the photos I looked at as I drew the hospital scenes in the book. And then once I have enough of these together, they become a graphic novel, right? So this is much larger than, say, my most recent book, How to Eat a Cookie, where the text is so small, you kind of have to focus on the form of the book itself to get the story, right? But this here, I was really careful to make the text very readable. So when you page through this, you're reading the text of a diary of a school teacher who participated in the Civil War 160 years ago, right? And 155, 160 years ago. And he participated in this and he wrote down his thoughts and ideas. And so I take very great care to make sure you can read those words when you read the books. But it takes a lot of work. So every day, first thing in the morning, I'm getting up this week and making a little mini book and stuffing it in my library and getting some creative ideas from that, and then getting back to work on my bigger projects. It's a nice rhythm. Wonderful to draw with you today. Thanks for making boxes. Thanks for comments. Thanks for all the suggestions. I love it. We've got architectural suggestions coming in the Facebook. We've got suggestions of who could be reading in the library. I love this. So creative. So I'll keep working on this. Keep in touch, folks. If you want to get the invites and updates, head on over to the Patreon. Do I have that here? I do. I have the website here. Head on over to the Patreon. Thanks to my patrons for all your Patreoning this year. Thanks to Kimball Jenkins for helping us do these classes. And I will see you over the course of the day and tomorrow. Stay tuned for more, folks, and I look forward to seeing your books and your little micro libraries too. Wonderful to draw with you. See you soon.